Literally, you guys, I'm embarrassed to even share this story. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and I'm sure it is to share these stories with you so that you don't repeat the same mistakes I made. Everyone, good to see you on this gorgeous day that I'm having here in South Florida. If you didn't know that's where I'm from, that's where I'm from. Today we're going to be talking about how to stay safe when traveling. This is an important topic whether you're a man, a woman, a child, a teenager, an old lady. This topic is very important for every person who hasn't done much traveling, or even if you are a well-traveled person, it's still helpful to know. Let's get into it. So my number one tip for staying safe when traveling is definitely hidden pockets. You guys know that I am big on the pockets when it comes to luggage and carry-on bags and purses and all that kind of stuff, but you'd be surprised how many companies make bags and jackets and scarves that have hidden pockets. One thing I like to do is if I'm in a cold location, I'll put a scarf on. In that scarf is a hidden pocket that zips up, so if anybody tries to steal my bags or my luggage, I have all my cash and my important documents, my passport, in that pocket. Another thing I like to do is find jackets or just like cardigans or sweaters that have pockets on the inside instead of just on the outside, just so that I can keep my valuables in those places and not have to worry about people snatching them up. And then I'll put my phone in there too, just to be safe. Yeah, it's just a really good thing to do if you're traveling, especially in a place that you don't really know that well. There are some purses out there that have hidden pockets. Second tip is to pretend you look like you know where you're going. Don't look so clueless. Don't have your Google Maps out on your phone that you're just like walking around looking up like, oh, where am I? Which street do I turn on? Like, that just makes you look like a complete tourist and a noob and a complete target for someone to want to mug you. But secondly, there are a few tricks that you can try to make yourself not look so much like a tourist. The first being, definitely pay attention to the people around you, the locals. This is something that I learned when I was in New York for a while. I would definitely pay attention to the people on the subway. You could tell if somebody was a local or if they were a tourist just by looking at their clothes, just by looking at their demeanor. And this can definitely be applied to anywhere, just depending on where you're going. Try to look like a local as much as possible. And then if you do need to use Google Maps on your phone, make sure that you're wearing headphones, first of all. So you can put just one in your ear like that. It doesn't have to be hidden. People could just think that you're listening to music or whatever. And you can have GPS telling you where to go in your ear without people knowing it, and you don't have to have your phone out like, looking at the streets. So that's one way to sneakily listen to GPS when you're traveling somewhere that you don't know. My third tip is to always be aware of your surroundings. What your parents tell you when you're a younger kid is true. Always be looking around for possible situations that you want to stay away from. If you're walking down the street and you're by yourself, it's a pretty vulnerable feeling because you don't know what the bad areas are. Definitely just keep your eyes out. Make sure that you're always 10 steps ahead of yourself with your eyes. And then on top of this is definitely get to know the area before you travel there. So do a little bit of research, if not a lot of research, on the crime in that area. Make sure to stay away from the parts of town that are high in crime. Be safe and be aware of what the scams are out there. This is a tip that should go without saying, but don't walk alone at night unless you're like Hulk Hogan and you could beat a guy up. Just don't do it. It's not safe. For public transportation, make sure that you're staying within big groups of people. A lot of the crime that happens on public transportation, subways, buses, train stops, a lot of the crime that happens is to people who are, over on the platform by themselves, like standing alone, away from the crowd. You want to make sure that you're just in a crowded group of people, so if something did go down, you could scream for help and people would help you. You're just less of a target that way. And then if you're waiting for a train, specifically, don't stand next to the platform. There are crazies out there, and there have been a lot of stories in New York, especially about people just being thrown onto the platforms, or thrown into the onto the train tracks. People are crazy. Make sure to stay stay back by the benches and stay in big groups of people. Keep little kids on leashes. This is a big one. As many of you know, I have a niece and a nephew and another nephew on the way. So I have traveled with my niece and nephew a lot. One thing that we did recently when we went to Disney World was we kept the kids on leashes. They're 2 years old. They're running off all the time. You have to be safe. I know it looks crazy, but they were just little backpacks that the kids had with like their snacks in them and stuff, like little tiny baby backpacks, okay? And they had leashes on them. There are people, crazy people out there who can just take your kid and in the matter of a second when you're not looking. So you just want to make sure you have tabs on them in crowded places and that, you know, you're taking that extra step to be safe, because God forbid anything happen to your little one, you want to make sure that you know where they are at all times. Another tip I have for public transportation is to always clutch your bag. Don't travel with a lot of stuff if you don't need to. The bag that you do have, don't put it next to you, don't put it by your feet. Make sure that it's on your lap and that you're clutching it like this. You'll see this in New York a lot. Even the locals there, that's what they do, because they know that if you close your eyes for a second or you're talking to someone, people can just reach into your pockets and take stuff from you. So make sure that you're clutching your bag, that all your pockets are zipped up. Just make sure that it's in your possession and that you are covering all the pockets there. Really great tip, especially for people who may be going out at night. You're, you know, with a group of friends or even by yourself and you've met some locals and you're going out for a night on the town. Make sure that you have a plan for how you're gonna get back to your hotel, Airbnb, wherever it is that you're staying. Don't drink too much, because that's just not smart anyways. But if you do plan on drinking, make sure that you have a plan set in place for how you'll get back. A lot of the time, when you're with a group of friends and you're letting loose and you're having a good time, there might be someone who wants to stay later, there might be someone who wants to leave early, you might have to get a ride back to the hotel yourself. And this is when things get tricky and when people start making bad decisions. So just make sure that you know, tonight I'm gonna take a Lyft, I'm gonna take an Uber, I have a taxi already paid for, ready to pick me up at this time. Like, just make sure that you're planning those things in advance. Always let a friend or family member know where you are. This is just a rule of thumb for anybody, especially solo travelers. You want to make sure that you're texting at least your sister or your mom or someone who cares about your well-being. Just, hey, I'm going to this place today, I'm excited. Like, you don't have to worry them. Like, just make sure that someone that you know knows where you're going and that you give them a window of time of when you're expected to be back. Don't be flashy. I understand that when people travel, they want to look good, but if you don't need to be wearing your Louis Vuitton, you know, purse or your Gucci slides, just wear some shoes. Just wear some regular shoes, guys. Come on. Like, who do you need to impress that much that you need to be wearing your Gucci slides out in public at night by yourself? Like, you don't. If anything, like I said before, try to blend in with the crowd. More experienced travelers know that this is the way to go when you're out by yourself, when you're with a group of friends. You don't want to be an easy target. A big tip, let me just pause right here and just let you guys know that a lot of these tips I had to learn the hard way, okay? So I'm sharing my wisdom with you because these things have happened to me and I don't want them to happen to you, okay? Password protect your phones. Make sure your phones, your tablets, your computers have passwords on them and also have trackable systems in place where if you were to lose it or if it were to get stolen, you could erase all the memory. Find my iPhone if it's an iPhone. If it's an Android, I'm not sure what that system is, but I'm sure it has one. Let me tell you, it is not fun having an important electronic stolen from you on your travels. One time I was flying home to the US from Belgium and we had to get off the plane for customs and then we were gonna get back on the same plane. So everybody left their bags there. The flight attendants were like, yeah, you know, leave your stuff on the plane, it's fine. So me as a flight attendant, I'm thinking, okay, like the flight attendants are guarding our stuff. So I keep my bag, you know, under the seat in front of me and I had an iPad out. I was watching a movie on the iPad. So I paused it and I put it in the little, like where the magazines go, in the little barf bag. I put my iPad in there, just like kind of tucked away, not really in plain sight, but it definitely wasn't in my bag. And when I got back on the plane after going through customs, that iPad was gone. And I was like, no. It was the worst thing ever. I was so upset. I didn't find my iPhone on there. I just wasn't prepared. I didn't think that was gonna happen. Like, you always think those things aren't gonna happen to you until they happen. And it just goes to show that, like, you can't really trust anyone. Like, it could have been a flight attendant that stole that. It could have been someone on the cleaning crew. I don't know. I don't know who stole it and I never will. But that person, you're rude. Another thing that you're gonna wanna do is to make a copy of your passport and your ID and all of your important documents. Just keep a copy of them and put them in another place in your suitcase or in your carry-on bag. Make sure that you bring multiple payment options on your trip. I remember one time, so I was based in Amsterdam for a summer. Literally, you guys, I'm embarrassed to even share this story. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and I'm sure it is to share these stories with you so that you don't repeat the same mistakes I made. Literally the day that I got to Amsterdam, right? We landed, I went to like some pastry shop in the airport because I was starving. I bought a pastry, and that first purchase that I ever made in Amsterdam, I lost my debit card. I just lost it. It was gone, and I didn't have any cash because I don't really carry cash that often. Like I do, but I think I had like maybe $20 in my pocket. That was it. And I had no credit cards because I don't have credit cards. I had nothing else to work with. So I couldn't just go to a bank and like withdraw cash. So how was I supposed to get money? So I had to call my parents, and they had to wire me like $200 cash, and basically I had to call the bank and I had to close the credit card, or the debit card, but the only way to close it was like it would take 2 weeks long, and I couldn't really like wire money from my bank to like my parents' bank for some reason because that debit card was like lost or stolen. It was a mess. It was a whole mess. I had to wait a few days for the money to even like get in. Yeah, so I'm trying to save you the trouble by telling you this story to bring multiple options of payment. Bring a credit card, bring cash, bring a debit card, and store those things in different places. My last tip, this is self-explanatory, but trust your instincts. Your instincts are usually a good indication of whether or not you should do something. There have been a lot of times where I've been traveling with friends who might not be the wisest travelers, okay? Love them, but you know, there are some people who are just kind of careless and mindless and not very safe when they travel. I had to really kind of pull myself back in those situations that I felt were kind of unsafe and say, you know what, as much as I love hanging out with this person, as much as like this would be fun, I just don't think it's the smartest thing, so I'm gonna have to stay back. So yeah, trust your instincts. Your safety is more important than anything. Don't do everything because your friends are doing it. Definitely give this topic a lot of thought, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I will answer them. I will always answer your questions either in the comments or in a video. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys stay safe and healthy and happy on your travels, and I'll see you guys in the next video.